Henry Hank Thomas is renowned for the courage he showed 6 decades ago as a freedom rider. But long before he stepped on that bus in 1961, he was questioning the status quo.
We were very, very poor. I grew up in a household with no electricity, no running water, and I could see the difference between where we lived and how white people lived. And always the question in my mind was, why were we so poor and they were so well off? And these were the kinds of questions that a young black child is never supposed to ask. But that was part of me. Anytime I saw something wrong, I reacted to it or respond to it. So that was a very important part of my childhood. The black and white signs and places where you could not go always grated on me. And so I was a rebellious person naturally.
Hank took that yearning for justice to Howard University, arriving at the dawn of the civil rights age. He took part in sit-ins at lunch counters in Maryland and Virginia, and became a founding member of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. At the age of 19, he became a freedom rider.
I had already been involved in the sit-ins in Northern Virginia and in Maryland. So this was nothing new to me, and it was, as a matter of fact, a wonderful idea, and I embraced it rather eagerly, that this was an extension of our civil rights activities.
Arrested 22 times for civil rights causes, he became the first freedom rider to appeal his conviction. He lost that in the Mississippi Supreme Court. That decision, however, was overturned by the U.S. Supreme Court. After, Hank sought justice and acceptance in another way, as a medic in the Vietnam War.
Well, I was trained as a medic before I went to Vietnam, and I had my doubts about going to Vietnam and fighting other colored people who were seeking the same thing that I was seeking. But I also felt, and this is what my grandfather had said to me, if we do all of the things that American citizens are expected to do, one day soon they will recognize that. And once again, in the Army, especially while I was in the hospital, I'm listening to the white boys talk about the businesses they're either going to start or they're going to go back to. And the blacks in that same hospital ward were silent because the best we could hope for was a halfway decent job. Well, I was determined to change that, certainly for myself.
After Vietnam, he became a successful businessman in Georgia, eventually owning fast food franchises and hotels. There can be no political freedom without economic freedom, he says.
We confuse being able to go into a restaurant or to get a job with freedom. And freedom is having the wherewithal, the money to do these things. It is the control of money that really gives you freedom.
Hank Thomas and his wife Yvonne have 2 children and 4 grandchildren. They have contributed heavily to scholarships to HBCUs and served on the Board of Trustees of the Morehouse School of Medicine. On this 2022 Charter Day, Howard University is proud to honor Henry Hank Thomas.